Hello, and welcome to the French News Hour, presented to you by Bummer Dude Media. Today is January the 17th, 2023. My name is Frank. His name is Alex. What is up, dude?
Not too much, man. Been a little while. Took the week off last week.
Yes.
You got some travel delays here, right? Weren't you part of that whole mix-up?
A large travel week. I was, man. I was. It was actually really crazy. It ended up not being crazy. We got to the airport. I was in Phoenix, and we got to the airport early, like 5:45, and there was a bunch of weather going on in the west, ton of rain, so like a lot of flights were getting canceled anyway. And we got there to find out that the FAA had grounded all flights. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm looking up on Twitter what's going on, and we come to find out that that's the first time that the FAA has grounded all flights domestically since 9/11.
Whoa.
And then we looked at the date, and it was 1/11. And we're just like, tin hats going on, man. Mind is spinning. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, shit.
And it turned out to be like a really minor glitch on some computer system that's woefully antiquated for the FAA. And it's a communication system that allows the pilot to communicate with the air traffic control tower about what's going on in the airport that they're landing in. So very important piece.
Yeah. And
it wasn't working. So they had to ground all flights for like 2 hours. And then they got it working and all was fine.
Gotcha. Huh.
Yeah. But for a minute there, it was a little dicey. I thought for sure I was going to be in Phoenix for longer than I hoped.
Get trapped. A lot of shit's been popping off, though, bro. We missed some crazy stuff last week.
We did. Before we get into the crazy stuff, I want to show you something. Every time I get a chance, I like to share this with you because it's just so friggin' cool.
Is it space, Frank?
It is.
Yes.
So this gal on Twitter, Sarah Salviander, shout out to Sarah, is giving us a galaxy a day for the month of January. And I came across this one titled M63, or the Sunflower Galaxy. Look at this beautiful bitch.
Yeah. Looks very similar to our own.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
Resides 29 million light years away in the constellation Cain Venatici. How about that, man? Doesn't that just kind of want to make you weep? That's real.
Yeah, right. And that could be a whole different us. You know what I'm saying? Like they found they released another planet this week that is exactly like Earth as far as like being in the habitable zone, way the fuck out there. And it's just crazy to think that like there could be a whole nother civilization, a whole nother being, whatever it is, out way the fuck out there, looking right back at us the same way, thinking the same thing. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Bet. Which would make this next clip by Bob Lazar all the more interesting. Yeah. You know who Bob Lazar is?
Oh, very familiar.
Okay. Before I start this, never mind the coincidence of Delta and Omicron. These are just Greek letters, so it has nothing to do with coronavirus.
What they call Omicron configuration, where the craft is using one generator, or Delta configuration, where it's utilizing all three. Delta configuration would be for space travel. Essentially, the craft will tilt up on its side, focus the three gravity generators to a single point, and move through space that way. If you were going to see one of these crafts at night operating, it would appear really as a glowing ball or just a bright light in the sky from a distance. Even close up, you'd see a glowing halo around it. What you're dealing with is a high energy source in essentially a gas atmosphere, oxygen, nitrogen. And when you apply enough energy to a gas molecule, they emit photons. They emit light.
Yeah, you don't have to. That's not too much of a stretch for me. I totally agree. I love Bob Lazar, man. He's been talking about this shit for years, dude. Finally got some like shine after Rogan, but that dude's the man.
Yeah, seems like they're fucking with us, Like when you have when you're playing with a dog and you're holding the toy just high enough, like doesn't matter how high they jump, they're never going to get that toy. I feel like that's what they're doing. Like they just know that they're so superior. Their technology is so superior to ours.
Right.
There's no way that they're going to get caught. Mm-hmm. Whoever they are.
They.
Anyways, we did miss a ton. I don't know what you want to start with. I don't have anything cheery.
Nothing cheery at all?
Not really, man.
Let me give you a random quarterback compared to Aaron Rodgers, and let me tell you, let me see if you can guess based off career stats who it is. You ready for this?
Sure.
So, unnamed player. He played for 18 seasons from 04 to 21, where Aaron Rodgers has played from 18 seasons from 05 to 22. This player had 3 Super Bowl appearances to Aaron Rodgers' 1 Super Bowl appearance. This player had 13 playoff wins to Aaron Rodgers' 12 playoff wins. This player is number 5 all-time passing compared to Aaron Rodgers, who is number 9 all-time passer. This player was the number 3 fourth quarter comeback quarterback with 41 of them in his career compared to Aaron Rodgers, who has the number 28th with only 21 of those. He's the number 1 quarterback for 500-yard passing games with 4 of them compared to Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't have any of those games. And this player has 166 career wins compared to Aaron Rodgers, 149. Who is this player?
3 Super Bowl appearances. 04 to 2001. So he retired last year.
2021.
21, I mean. 3 Super Bowl appearances?
It's crazy. When I saw it, I was like, whoa.
I don't know who's been to the Super Bowl 3 times that isn't playing, that retired last year. I don't have a guess for you. Give me a hint.
He won 2 of the Super Bowls.
It's not Eli. He retired longer than that. He's 2-time Super Bowl champion. He played on the team. Well, he must have started the game if he had all those stats.
And so I'm saying this guy is like the number 5 all-time passing, the number 3 in fourth quarter comebacks, leader of 500-yard passing games, and has almost 20 more career wins than Aaron Rodgers. When you think about it, like people talk about Aaron Rodgers being one of the greatest of all time, and then this guy, I don't think gets enough shine for what he was able to accomplish.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yes, it is. Isn't that wild though, man? Like I would always think in my head, like Aaron Rodgers, better quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger. But like really, for the same amount of time, this dude's done way more.
That's pretty wild.
Early success and Ben towards the end kind of like started to fall off. So I guess maybe his legacy was a little tainted because of that. But
plus, Aaron Rodgers beat Ben Roethlisberger in the only Super Bowl he'd ever win.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I saw that stat. I was like, I got to bring that up to Franklin.
Interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
Makes you ponder. Here's something else that makes you think. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. I don't know what to pin this on. But there's an alarming amount of children committing murders here in early 2023. I don't know if this is normal, par for the course. I feel like I would have heard about more of these if it were, but just in this early year, there's, so far as I can tell, 4 stories of children committing murder. On January 5th in San Francisco, 2 teenagers were arrested in the shooting death of a security guard in Japantown in San Francisco. And it happened at 5 p.m., broad daylight. Shot and killed a security guard. One of the teenagers was arrested for murder. The other one was arrested for accessory. The very next day, you might have heard of this story, a 6-year-old shoots his first grade teacher with a handgun in Newport News, Virginia, leaving her critically wounded. And it just came out that the staff knew that this kid had a gun.
What the fuck? What?
Yes.
I did not see that.
That he was in possession of a gun.
What?
For how long? I don't know.
Someone's getting fired.
On January 10th in Toronto, 8 teenage girls were charged with the murder of Ken Lee, 59-year-old Ken Lee. They're calling this a swarm death, where they basically jumped him, beat him up, stabbed him, left him for dead. Teenage girls, 8 of them.
Whoa.
And then in Dallas, Texas, just yesterday, a 14-year-old girl shoots an innocent 11-year-old bystander when, during an altercation, she reaches for a gun and shoots at the person she was fighting with, misses, and hits this 11-year-old boy, shooting him and killing him. What the fuck, dude? Jeez. What are our children doing?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
What are the parents of those children doing, bro? Where the fuck are these kids getting the guns? Lock your shit up. Like,
dude, I don't know.
This stuff, these kind of stories make responsible gun owners look so dumb. And it's just like, there's so many more people that actually take care of their weapons compared to like these dumbasses that do this shit with their kids. But this is not acceptable. It
should infuriate the millions of responsible gun owners who own a firearm and know how to properly store it and know how to teach your kids how to use it and know how to provide some sort of insight and respect to the weapon. I don't know, man.
It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with these kids. If it's Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, maybe is that just fucking with their head?
It must be some sort of desensitization to what it means to pull a trigger.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're so used to seeing it in a fictional realm that when it's in real life, it doesn't really compute until you've actually pulled the trigger.
Right.
And then the consequences reach out to you. At that point, you know, tragedy's already struck. I don't know, man. But it just shocked me. I saw 2 of these stories, and then I saw a third, and then I started to look it up, and I'm like, how many more can I find? And this is literally just before the show. I found that 4th one about the one in Dallas, Texas yesterday. So
I want to know, in the teenage girl one, like, what if that dude was like a fucking child molester or some shit and like had fucked with all of them, so they said, fuck this dude, let's kill him.
It might be, but he was a homeless person.
Oh, well then never mind. Well, maybe he still did it. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that is possible, crazy.
But yeah,
that is very strange.
That's just something to keep an eye on here early. I think it's got my attention, so I'm gonna certainly keep a lookout for as many of these stories as I can find. And I don't know, maybe this is something that has been overlooked, but that one about that 6-year-old, man. Ooh, my God.
Yeah.
What the hell does a 6-year-old know what to do with a gun and to shoot it like that? I don't know. My
craziness.
Goodness. Well, the main thing I wanted to talk about today is something I've wanted to talk about on the show for a really long time, but I think it deserves a lot of respect because it is so big. And if we're going to talk about it, we should probably have all of the information at our fingertips. And there was a study that came out just last week. So I feel like it's now a good time to talk about this. And the subject is pornography.
Oh.
Do you remember how old you were the first time that you saw porn? Not the first time you saw a naked lady. The first time you saw porn.
Probably, I want to say like 8 or 9.
Oh, really?
I was young, bro. Yeah.
The first time you saw like 2 people on video having sex.
Yeah. Older cousin showed it to me because he was like in high school or some shit, and he showed us.
That's crazy. I remember where I was. I was in the bedroom of a friend, and we were just, kind of browsing the internet, and we would get into like E-Bombs World games that you could like get a picture of a naked lady here and there.
They always had the ads on the side.
Yeah. So I don't know how we came across it, but we came across a video. It was like a 15-second video or a 30-second video. And it was like 2 people having sex in like the back of a van, and it was being filmed from another car on like a highway. It's very weird. But I remember it distinctly because it was the first time I'd ever seen like sex, like actual penetration. So I remembered it. The access to pornography the way we have it now, I feel like it's relatively new, right? Like 10 years or so. I mean, as new as the smartphone has been our direct handheld access to pornography. So a study comes out from commonsense.com, and pretty trusted surveyor, and they surveyed some 1,300 kids between the ages of 13 and 17. And of that age group, nearly 75%, 73% of the respondents said that they've been exposed to pornography, either accidentally or on purpose. And the people who said it was accidentally, you're liars, you should be ashamed of yourself. So that I don't think that's too like shocking or alarming, right? 73% of teenage kids have seen pornography. Yeah, I think that's on par with the entire country. Most teen respondents who intentionally watched pornography were regular viewers. It's about 60%, so a little bit more alarming. 60% of those teens are watching it all of the time. More than half of the teen respondents said that they had seen violent or aggressive pornography, including media that depicts what appears to be rape, choking, or someone in pain. And then many teens respondents believed online pornography gives helpful information about sex, but fewer thought it accurately shows sex. So I don't know what useful or helpful information that they're gathering from that experience. So on one hand, you have the abundance of pornography, right? All you can watch at your fingertips whenever you want. You could probably get some really off-the-wall shit. And as a young person, why that is concerning is because of what it does to your biochemistry. And I'm going to speak here like I'm a scientist. I'm not a scientist. So if you get lost, I'll try and clear this up for you. But porn and masturbation spike the brain with massive amounts of dopamine, right? Mm-hmm. The dopamine prohibits the release of prolactin. Normally, prohibiting the release of prolactin is a good thing. However, the more that you masturbate, the more you watch porn, the more dopamine it's going to take to prohibit prolactin. The amount of dopamine required to prohibit prolactin becomes unstable, and prolactin is produced at all times when the porn user is not watching porn or masturbating. Now, why is this important? It's important because prolactin is a key trigger to a hormone that prohibits testosterone production in your nuts, right? So you produce all of this prolactin. Prolactin triggers a hormone, and that hormone prohibits testosterone production. And excessive levels of prolactin will cause testosterone levels to be chronically depressed. And what we're seeing with children who are watching massive amounts of pornography is that if and when they get into a situation where they are participating in the real thing, they don't have the sex drive for it. They don't have any other experience other than what they've watched on a video screen. And so they can't get an erection and they can't have sex, and destroys them sexually, right? I mean, imagine that's your first sexual experience. Like, you just can't get hard. You're a 17-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid, however old you are. I don't know about you, man, but you know, I could cover a full 40-hour work week with my erections as a 17, 18-year-old, you know, up until whenever, you know, I mean, even now it's an issue, but I mean, I remember being in class just like, for no reason, just a boner. It was annoying. I couldn't imagine being a child or a young man not being able to have an erection and have sex with a woman. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine what that does to a young psyche. Oh my goodness.
The worst was church, though. To get the unwanted boners in church always came out for some reason, bro. Yeah. Maybe that's TMI, but I'd always be standing in church like, what the why?
Yep. Let us pray. You gotta stand up. We know that it's not terribly great for the young psyche. It obviously provides examples of sex that are unrealistic, also degrading, like incredibly degrading, mostly at the expense of women. And the biggest problem is that porn is a $15 billion industry, right? So it's not great for us, yet we all consume it. Everybody, $15 billion, everybody watches porn. It's one of those phenomenons, kind of like obesity, where we are now tasked, we're like the only people in history that are tasked with not becoming obese, right? That is our goal. That is our struggle, is to not be a big old fat ass. And then in this case, with pornography, we're the first generation that has to actively engage ourselves in healthy sexual behavior. It's never been a problem until right now. David Miyashiro, he's the superintendent of the Cajon Valley Union School District in East San Diego County. And he had held tech and safety workshops and discussions for parents, and he refused to address pornography in any of these sessions. And there's a big, giant population of Middle Eastern people in East County, San Diego, as well as conservative Christians. It's kind of like the Midwest of San Diego, if you will, with some Middle Eastern refugee community sprinkled in. And they're at odds with this school district on how they're teaching sex education, because they want there to be education on what we were just talking about, what pornography does to a young, malleable, vulnerable brain. And it seems to be at odds with school districts. So that's another big giant layer in this whole thing, is how do we, on one hand, say, here is all of the porn that you'll ever want at any given time, and here's how you deal with it. It's all very new. And I think it provides a incredible perspective, especially when you're talking about somebody like an incel, like an involuntary celibate. These people, I think, especially after reading this, are more victims than they're not, right? Young, curious brain finds pornography maybe at the age of 8 or 9, right? And then their trajectory changes completely. And now that is all that they see, know, deal with, causes them to not be able to have any sort of relationship with the opposite sex, sexually or otherwise. And so they say, instead of facing this problem head on, figuring out why it is that I can't do any of these things, no, they become trolls online. They become, you know, they dig into their holes in their little dens, jacking off at all hours of the day. Mm-hmm. You can see that happening.
Yeah, dude, I feel like it only gets worse as you bring in, as VR gets better and all this other shit expands. Like, that industry, I don't think is going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to make it as weird and gross as it sounds, like more immersive of an experience. Like, you know, human to human interaction, I feel like in the future, as this grows and grows, is going to be, you're going to see more of this pop up more and more. Like, people's brains are going to be destroyed because of this, not just kids, but adults.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because there's no solution, right? A direct solution, at least right now. It's going to take a lot of conversation. It's going to take people like you and I, who I'm guessing, and I don't want to speak for you, but you know, from my experience, never really thought of pornography as anything as, like, you know, malicious, right? It was just a way to get off. But then think about it, right? Think about you, the listener, the person listening. How many times that you've consumed pornography? How much you've consumed pornography? And think for a second, like, how that couldn't rewire your brain into something that is at the very least unnatural, and at the worst degenerative to you and your health, of your relationships, how you view women and people in general. Our friend Mark Maron will be able to bring this home beautifully.
The bigger point I'm trying to make is I don't think that our brains are equipped to take in as much fucking as we're allowed to take in on porn, all right? We're just people. You gotta watch porn, like if you're like compulsive about it, like in a half hour, you can watch at least 15 different sexual situations. How is our brain meant to handle that? I mean, we're just animals. I mean, even if you're a fucking monkey and you're up in a tree and there's a couple of sets of monkeys fucking, I mean, you're like, all right, that's 2, that's plenty. You know, like, but if there were 20, you'd be like, what the fuck is happening to the monkeys? So I'm just saying it fucks with your head. And I think that we're doing damage. Let me try to illustrate another way. Let's create an analogy. All right, you're at the end. You're at the end of a hallway. It looks like a hotel hallway. There's 15 doors, and they're all open. And in each one of the rooms, there are people fucking somehow. All right? And you start jerking off at the end of the hallway. And then you just stand in front of every door going, holy shit, what the fuck is that? How many people are in there? That's not a real strip club. And then you just come on the floor at the end of the hallway. If that day happened in your life, you would never forget it as long as you live. But no, now you can just do that in a half hour right at your fucking desk. And you think it's not fucking with your head? Don't get porn brain. Here's how you know if you have porn brain. If you ever detach from the porn long enough to have a real sexual experience, if you ever walk into a room with a person that you're with, that you're about to have sex with, and for a split second when you walk into that situation, you think, where's the other guy? You'll have porn brain. You know, if you go for that split second, you're like, oh, fuck, it's me. This is an interactive thing. There is no other guy. I'm the guy. That's when you know you've watched too much.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's not something that you can't describe it, right? I don't know that while we're in it, we're able to describe that phenomenon, or really, you can do all the research you want, but I don't know if we can really describe what it is that it does to us. But I think we could all agree that it's maybe not the healthiest thing to have as much of an abundance in.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree.
And you know, hopefully this provides some perspective, and you know, I'm not here to shame anybody or make you feel bad for your habits or what you like to do. To each their own. I don't know, I just think it's definitely made me reconsider the entire industry and what it is about, especially with young children. I think you and I, and you could apply this for a lot of different things, but we were very lucky in the way that we grew up because we were just on the cusp of what the internet inevitably became, but we still had the ability to have the experiences without being fully immersed online. And I think that provides us a tremendous advantage over younger generations who now face this difficulty without any other background of what life is outside of being plugged in. Oh, anyway, what else is going on here? Somebody wrote a research article in the National Bureau of Economic Research. Their argument is that school makes kids commit suicide. Whenever kids are in school, they commit suicide. When you cancel school, they stop committing so much suicide. They write here, this is not from the report, this is more tongue-in-cheek. People who have never read Lord of the Flies are like, but how? And the rest of us are like, did you miss the part where Lord of the Flies is just an allegory for English boarding schools? I wonder what will happen to children when we warehouse them together in competitive environments with approximately one adult supervisor per 20 to 30 kids. And that supervisor is not selected on the basis of moral wisdom or love of the child, but ability to confer facts. And also, we cluster the kids by age group, ensuring that hierarchies are purely determined by personality-based aggressiveness without any age-relating offsetting. There's the actual data that shows that there is a correlation between the suicide rates of children ages 12 to 18 years old and during a normal school year. Between the months of June and August is when suicides happen the least, when they're out of school. And then that data is backed up by data of teen suicide rates plummeting in March of 2020, and then creeping back up in the fall of 2020. When kids return to school. And I just thought that was you never think that very simple statement. Schools make children commit suicide. But obviously, if you're at home or you're going to a school, like a private school, right, where there's maybe 10 to 12 kids and it's an incredibly strict curriculum and nobody has any room for fucking around and bullying is not tolerated, not even in the least, and everyone's held to the same standards, and everyone's kind of toeing the same line, you don't have room for fuckery. A public school just throw as many kids that happen to be in that zip code into that school. You have one teacher, like you said, per 20 to 30 students, and that's the only supervision they have. Kids are the worst, dude. You know that. You were a kid. They're the worst. They're terrible to each other. They're so mean, so nasty. They'll say whatever it takes to get the other person to feel bad, and without any acknowledgement or knowledge of what their emotions are, either the bully or the person being bullied. And yeah, I mean, so obviously it makes sense. If there are ever suicides among children, why wouldn't they happen while these kids are going to school?
Yeah, but I mean, what's the alternative? Like everyone homeschools, and then like the whole population is all fucked up with education. Like I guess it's like almost a necessary evil in that case, unless you're going to pay the people that run these schools more. Like I don't know how they're expected to hold themselves to such a high regard from an administrative standpoint if they're like paid shittily, like compared to like a private school teacher who's probably paid more, and that's why they give more of a fuck about their job, and in turn, provide better service to the kids, and they feel better taken care of.
It's a tough question to answer, man, and I wish I had a simple solution for it. The one thing that I know that I believe in heavily is the structure of an environment of children to where there is absolutely no, like, the kids are in lockstep. I've seen this firsthand, the Michaela School in London, and it's the most jaw-dropping, eye-opening thing I've ever seen in my life, where this woman goes into a impoverished portion of London, brings in students, and has the strictest curriculum for these students. And I'm not talking about like education. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about when they go from class to class, they walk in a straight line and they shut the fuck up and they don't say a word. Not a word. Straight line. Boom. Class to class. And then in the classroom, everybody's held to the same standard, no matter where you come from or what your parents' financial background is. That it matters not. Everybody's held to the same educational standard. And if you watch these kids interact, they are the nicest, most pleasant, beautiful children you've ever met in your entire life. They're incredible. They're so nice and polite. And they're all participating in the same way. They all feel loved and appreciated in the same way. And while that'll be a monumental task to implement something like that, say in the San Diego Unified School District, in such an incredibly liberal place as California, to me, that seems to be the only way to make that happen. The only way. Because if you leave children up to their own vices, I mean, I think it's common sense that they're going to choose the path of least resistance, and they're just going to degenerate into primal monkeys and do the thing that they know how to do, which is be mean and manipulate and be nasty. And I think that's proven time and again. It's the same question. Like, if you left a baby alone, right, would that baby turn out to be good or bad? Are people inherently good, or are they inherently bad? Right? I think it's that same question.
Right, based on experience. I do think there's some advantage to growing up in the chaos a little bit, I guess, too, instead of like so formal to this thing, because then like when those people get into the real world, like that's not how people are, interact, or those people might have their shit together and they'll probably be successful because of that schooling, but probably be a little, I don't know.
Yeah, but don't you think
within the world, like that's not how relationships are conducted, and that's not how people actually act like everywhere
I don't know,
else.
but don't you think that training them to be that person, and despite of everything that's going on, right? Because they're not at school 24 hours a day, so they have to go home, they have to go interact in their communities to the extent that they do, and they're going to realize like very quickly that they are different from everybody else. Whether that's good, bad.
It feels like you're raising super soldiers. You ever seen that in like Marvel, like the super soldiers? It seems like an army. Like it seems more like a military lifestyle than like any kind of, I guess what would be perceived as like a normal lifestyle for a kid. Not that that's wrong. I guess it just seems so. It definitely has like a military aspect to that, and I think there's tons of great people that have been in the military, but I also think like we've seen a lot of like defectors from the military and people that come out of it that are kind of fucked up too, because of that lifestyle. Definitely,
and there's definitely room for error, I think, on all sides of it. But if your goal is say you're the Secretary of Education, right? You believe in public schools, and you're against school choice, and you maybe don't want to delve into that because it will defund public schools or whatever. It'll take money away from this public school to give school choice to this person. You say, I believe in public schools and they can work. And if you're creating a structure that you can then implement on scale, I think children not only need but deserve the most rigid structure because they crave that structure. They crave discipline. They crave discipline. As much as you might have hated it as a kid, you craved it because you know deep down that you don't know and that you're lost and that you're small and you're vulnerable and you don't know what to do and you need direction. And the kids crave it. So I think they deserve that kind of structure. And I went to public school, man. I don't know if you ever went to public school. Did you ever go to public school or was it private school your whole life?
No, I was private my whole life.
Public school is a fucking zoo, bro. A zoo.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. 8th grade, kids get literally sparking up joints in the bathroom. And here's me, this little old naive kid growing up in kind of a sheltered home with Catholic parents and went to church every Sunday. And I'm seeing this and I'm like, yeah man, it was insane. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a taste of what public school is about. And it's not like,
I think they're all different though. I don't think every public school is like that either.
I would agree to an extent.
There are good public schools.
I would agree to an extent.
There's exceptions to that, but I think there's probably more bad ones than good ones. Would be my guess.
And then that raises the question of school choice. Why would you pigeonhole a student to a shitty education based on the prosperity of their zip code?
So if you do school choice, then explain to me like how, like what would public school still be involved?
Oh, sure.
If there's
yeah. So
choice?
Think about it this way, right? Your son becomes of school age. He has a dollar amount, a voucher, if you will, associated to his education. Okay. Instead of funding the system that he would inevitably go into because of the zip code he's in, right? The taxes of where he lives determines how much money that school district gets in general. So instead of being beholden to that school district gives up all of that money for those students and then places that money with the parents and says, parent, you decide where this money goes. And the parent says, there's not another school within 60 miles of me. I can't possibly pick another school. Okay, then there's your option. If you'd like another option, then you probably have to move or start a new school. If you don't want to do those things, then this is the option for you. Now, let's say you're in the suburb of Chicago and you have a charter school here, a Catholic school here, a Protestant school here, 2 different public schools that aren't the one that are in your zip code, but have a much better track record of student success. Then you could take that voucher and say, I want to put my money here. And does that mean this other school ends up failing? You bet it does. But then it invites competition. So then you get schools wanting to provide the best education so that they can garner the money from the students and their families that they want to pay it for. To me, it seems like the best way to go about it. It's a free market of education. It invites competition. To me, I don't see any downfall to that. Yeah,
as described, that makes complete sense to me. You're going to get, like, schools are going to fail and close, but those were shitty schools in shitty areas, and then all those kids have better opportunities to go somewhere better, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you, let's say that voucher is equivalent to $10,000 every year, right? And that'll cover the kid's education for any public school and most all charter schools. But it only covers about 60 to 65% of what the tuition cost is in a Catholic school, say. Well, then you'd be able to give that money to the Catholic school, but then now you're responsible for the other stuff that you have to make up. And you're not paying the Catholic school. The Catholic school is not getting government dollars. The Catholic school is getting your education dollars.
Right. The only thing that I see in that whole system where it could be corrupted easily, and probably would be, is that there's only limited spaces in all of these schools. I mean, they'd probably expand over time or whatever, but at first there's only limited spaces, which means that they're going to have to, at some point, like, choose what they're letting kids in on, some kind of criteria. My guess would be that it would be the financial stability of parents, because then those people that they bring in are donors to the school in other ways, through athletics and blah, 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 blah. So then I think you would just see most of the kids in the good schools would be all the rich kids, and then you'd kind of have the same system in a way, I guess, but it would be more cleaned up of the shitty schools.
Right.
But I feel like there would be an upper echelon of, like, that probably is there now too, so I don't know. Maybe not.
Like, turn it into like the university system where, you're a legacy student, your parents went here, they're donors, this, that, and the other. You have a higher chance of getting accepted than some other kid applying from out of state who might have better grades or what have you.
Or from the inner city whose parents aren't as well off and can't be as much of an asset to the school in fundraising opportunities and all this other shit, whereas they know that these people that are from affluent areas, blah, 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 blah. I could see a lot of those nicer schools, but hopefully that would just result in more and more of those popping up, because those other kids would have to go somewhere, and that would all that money would be funneling to there. So those schools would be good too.
The one thing that is indisputable is that money does not fix a school or school system that is bad. It doesn't fix it even in the least.
You're saying throwing money at one that's already shitty.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Gotcha.
No, it does nothing. Almost nothing. If you saw San Diego Unified's budget year over year, you'd shit your pants.
Yeah.
It's like $9 billion. And there's still schools that don't have working air conditioning. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the allocation of it, the system, that is what's broken. And if you want to begin to fix it, I think you take as much money as you can, you put it with the families, and you let them decide, and then you let these school districts sweat a little bit.
I like it. Yeah,
we need a little sweat.
Competition's good for everything, though. It's good for healthcare, education. Like, competition is good. Like, there should be basic options for people that could have been fucked by a system or disability or whatever, but like competition for the overall market and everything in most things make it better.
Couldn't agree more. All right. Would be remiss if I didn't touch on Joe Biden.
Yeah, got to.
And his documents.
Got to.
What a clown, man. What a clown. Did you see the first? So there's been 2 or 3 rounds of documents found in Joe Biden's personal possession. And the first time the story came out, Peter Doocy of Fox News was at the White House press room and asked the question, how could he be so irresponsible to Karine Jean-Pierre, which is the very same thing that Joe Biden said when he was interviewed on 60 Minutes about Donald Trump's documents. So it's a very interesting little dance that they're playing because obviously this happened way back when to Hillary Clinton, right? Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton had classified documents or classified emails on a personal server. And this was proven. And it was, in the words of James Comey, and I'm paraphrasing here, almost certain that foreign actors saw these private emails that were classified. Nothing happened to her, right? Because of the intent, right? There was no malicious intent. She wasn't trying to be any sort of spy or trying to be treasonous to the United States. Then the same thing happened to Donald Trump. Classified documents found in his personal possession, although he is or was the president. So now there's a whole different layer of protection over him and those documents, what have you. Now we get to Joe Biden, who had these documents in his possession when he was vice president and wouldn't give him the presidential protections or the ability to declassify documents that a president has. So technically, he's still more or less a civilian when he has these documents in his possession. And the best theory that I've heard about all of this is that they needed to find these documents on Joe Biden because they're not going to prosecute Donald Trump for the documents that they found at Mar-a-Lago. And so this is like scapegoat, a way out for the attorney general to not prosecute Donald Trump and say, oh, well, we found him in Joe Biden's possession as well. So I guess we're going to go with the intent here, this, that, the other. I don't care. To be quite honest with you, it's all kind of nothing. It's just, we love political theater. The most interesting thing that I have found about all of this is that the house where these documents were found, we find out that during the time that the documents were in this house, Hunter Biden had claimed to own the house. But on tax returns, he's also claimed to rent the house. And we know this because he had paid his dad, Joe Biden, $50,000 a month in rent. And I don't know that any house is worth that in whatever part of Delaware that they were at. Wilmington, Delaware, I think. So he's paying Joe Biden $50,000. To be precise, he's paying him $49,910. Just so happens that that is the exact amount of a rental deposit that Hunter Biden made at a property called House of Sweden that was related to his business ventures with the CEFC China Energy Company that Hunter Biden was working with, that infamously we found out that Hunter Biden was giving 10% to, quote, the big guy. So it all stinks to high heaven, my friend. This is as smoking of a gun as I could possibly find on anything that we've ever found out. And this all does stem back to that laptop. Mm-hmm. It all stems back to the laptop. So there it is.
Did you see the thing about Hunter Biden with his, he's got I think it's a 6-year-old kid with a stripper.
Yeah.
And he's trying to petition the judge to not let the kid have his last name. And that's the mom of like the lady, mom of the kid is saying like, no, I want it to have the Biden name. Like there's success and all the shit attached to that name. Like I want my kid to carry that forward. And Hunter Biden's like, shut this shit down. Or maybe his dad and the family are like, shut this shit down, dude.
Yeah, Joe Biden was asked about it.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was asked about the story that made him a grandfather. He got really upset about it.
Really?
Yeah, he said it was real classy that you would ask that.
Wait, so that was like his first grandkid?
No, I don't doubt it. No.
Jesus.
Just saying, like, made him a grandpa again.
Real classy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is interesting, man. Like, I just, you'll never know. But if the shoe was on the other foot and this happened to have happened during the Trump era, I mean, it would be top news everywhere. You kidding me? Donald Trump has a, or who would have been Eric Trump has a, a marriage or a kid. What is it? What is the phrase? What's the phrase? I'm sounding like Joe Biden.
Out of wedlock?
Yeah, but a love child. There you go.
No, a love child, yeah. Dude, I saw another crazy fact about Joe Biden that said his birthday was closer to the inauguration and assassination of Lincoln than his own inauguration date.
Jesus.
By like a few months, but still, that's crazy to me. He's so old. Like, come on.
He's so old that
that's our best bet.
At the time of his inauguration, he had been in the United States Senate for 20% of the time that the Senate has been.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
That's
old
crazy.
as shit, dude.
Can't tell me he is not entrenched in one way or the other.
And then another interesting little tidbit that came out this week. The CDC has they're investigating whether the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine creates an increased risk of ischemic stroke in people 65 and older. This is the first such investigation into the COVID-19 vaccine that the CDC has opened up. And obviously it begs a ton of questions. There's a really, really good article written by Mike Cernovich. And he talks about the juxtaposition between people dying suddenly and the confirmation bias of everybody thinking that it might or may be associated with the vaccine, right? Why are we seeing all of these all of a sudden? Well, it turns out that like these deaths aren't rare. And to the extent that they're associated with the vaccine at all, we may never know. Because on one end, you have a bunch of people saying, you can't talk about this. Like you can't question the vaccine. Obviously the vaccine works. The alternative is that COVID-19 spreads rampantly, this, that, and the other. And then on the other side of that, you have everybody saying, well, of course this is due to the vaccine. We haven't seen Peter McCullough. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast like last year or the year before. It was really controversial. He made this claim that there were 1,598 athletes that suffered cardiac arrest and that there were only 1,100 athletes that suffered cardiac arrest between the years of like 1966 and 2004, trying to make the case that there's been a lot of these deaths recently. And it's like completely false, right? If you scrutinize it just a little bit, you find out that it's not correct what he's trying to say, but it sounds good to people who want to believe that. Just a couple weeks ago, Neil deGrasse Tyson was making the claim that the COVID-19 vaccine stops the transmission of COVID. So there's no middle ground. Nobody's trying to find the truth. They're all trying to find what facilitates their side and then use that confirmation bias to make a point. And it's frustrating because I do think that there could be some credibility to all this, right? And it's frustrating because on CNN a couple of days ago, they were talking about how we need to start looking about how many deaths were actually responsible for, how many deaths COVID was actually responsible for versus how many deaths, how many people died with COVID, right? The same
CNN saying that?
Yeah, CNN saying that.
What?
Now, I don't know if you remember this. It was CNN, it was Fox News, it was MSNBC, it was every single one of the legacy media companies had a death toll ticker during COVID at the bottom of their screen for months. They couldn't wait to tell you how many people died. And now they're saying, we should draw that back. But if we bring up anybody dying suddenly on a soccer field, a soccer player just happened to collapse being collapsed and otherwise healthy, we can't question that, But if we do question it, how do we make sure that we're not doing what Peter McCullough is doing and just going completely over the top and saying that all of this is due to the COVID-19 vaccine and we've never seen anything like this before? And I hope there's some sort of independent study or some research facility that's willing to do the hard work here and give us some sort of semblance of truth, because most of us have this fucking vaccine in us. And I think we'd all like to know what the hell the risks are going to be short and long term.
Yeah, I know it's got me like pumping the brakes on getting boosters for now. That's for sure.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Is it? Is that across the board?
Yeah. Pfizer's even scaled back production because demand is plummeted, especially in children.
Oh, that's encouraging. And that's kind of cool. I've seen during all this shit with Biden too in these documents, CNN has kind of turned on him a little bit too. So that's good to see a little bit more, some more fair reporting, I guess. It's encouraging.
Yeah, I suppose. We'll see. Election cycle's coming up.
Yes.
I don't have a whole lot of faith in it.
Dude, what about this dude from New York that is like a complete liar? This Republican senator. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Bro, what is that all about, man? I wanted to ask you about that, and I wanted to ask you about Jordan Peterson before we got out of here. This dude from New York, let me look up his fucking name. I can't even think what
George
it is.
Santos.
George Santos. He basically lied about his entire background and secured funding from an investor like in the 6 figures plus towards his campaign, all off bullshit. And he just got kind of called out for it last week, and people are demanding he steps down and all these other things. What do you think about that?
I think Joe Biden lied about the exact same things, and he's now president.
Did he really?
He did.
Oh, shit.
Absolutely. At least his claims about where he went to school and what degrees he graduated with and his grades and all that. Absolutely.
Well, it doesn't make either case right, but should this guy keep his job? He represents a bunch of people based on complete factual inaccuracies.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people calling for his job. Even on the Republican side, there's people calling for his job. He probably should do the politician thing and just dig his feet in and tell everyone to go get fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's if you're playing power politics here, his number in the House of Representatives means a whole lot, and so that's probably what's going to happen.
Probably not going to get reacted, though. I would be
probably not. I don't know. He's a moron because I don't know how you expect to get away with things like that
in today's world. Yeah,
dude,
when Biden did it, it makes a little bit more sense.
Right. If you in 1975, if you're saying I graduated top of my class at this whatever law school, then all right. Well, I'm not apt to fact checking that. Plus, it's going to take a lot more work for me to do that. But yeah, but this guy, I mean, come on, dude. All this is public record. He claims he's gay but divorced his wife 2 weeks before the election.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a lot of weird things. Said his mom was dead and that there's proof that she was alive 5-10 years after he said that. And
chronic liar. He'll fit right in DC. They should.
Yeah. Right. Okay. But now I know a guy you respect very much. Jordan Peterson is under some fire or in risk of losing his license or certification or something, I heard.
I don't know much of the story. I haven't looked into it. I've kind of fallen off the Jordan Peterson train a little bit. I still respect him, and there's some of his work that I will always go back to. It's seminal to my life at this point. I love it so much. But recently he's been kind of a dweeb, and this I don't know much about, but it sounds like they're trying to make him go through some sort of re-education program.
Yeah.
In order to keep his medical license or his board license or something. I really don't know the details of it, but it sounds very Canadian.
And his response to that was he wants apology letters and their letters of resignation to their current job in order for him to forgive them. I'm just what in the fuck is going on? This seems so extreme for this dude just had an opinion on something that was posted. I think it's started off of a tweet, I believe. Well,
that's the last time he got in trouble. It started off of a tweet. Because he was talking about because there was that woman, I forget what it was about, but she was a bigger woman, and he was like, I will never say that this is beautiful, this and you can't compel me. It's all right, man. Whatever, dude. Keep that to yourself. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
He's
much about
paid
it.
Though. He's paid to have an opinion. His entire life is based off of his opinion and the factual knowledge he's come to through his life experience. Though, those, and then it's just like with a comedian. Then you start censoring those people and letting them know what they can and can't say. That's crazy. And then you're threatening, I wouldn't say his livelihood, because Jordan Peterson will be fine probably without whatever this is. But he's got a whole world built out for him where he has like a platform and money making opportunities. But like the fact that you could take like a person's what they paid money into for an education license, like whatever, you can take that away from them now because their opinion doesn't align with the thought process of your university or, you know, organization. Like that is scary to me, like that. And it's happening in Canada. Like that's even weirder, but like that doesn't jive with like what all of that means. Like how can you put all this time and effort into something and then it can just be stripped from you like that?
Do you know what a struggle session is?
No.
A struggle session is where in communist China, they would bring people who have done wrong out into the public, and they would shame them publicly in front of an audience, and then they would have them repent for the things that they've done wrong publicly. Oftentimes it was things that went against what the Chinese Communist Party was saying or wanted to be believed. And so this is a modern day struggle session, basically. You did not say the right thing, and we hold some leverage over you. So in order for you to, retain your leverage back, you're going to need to publicly apologize and go through some reformation. I don't know, dude. I guess it stems from something he said about Elliot Page. I don't know. Called the physician who removed her breasts, or his breasts, now criminal. And I don't know.
But I just don't see why he's not allowed to have that opinion. And if not, you're going to get your license and your education stripped from you. Like what? No. Do I get a full refund too? Like how does that work?
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. I agree with you.
It's weird.
Take on if you feel challenged or threatened and you're not willing to take it on head on, but you're compelling somebody by using force, guarantee you have the wrong position, but like more often than not, your position's wrong.
Yeah, right. And then you mentioned, just real quick, you mentioned China. I was listening to Rogan. Did you kind of going back through some like more recent, older episodes? And have you listened to the one with Peter Zeihan, where he's kind of talking about like global
Michael
politics?
Sent me that and told me to listen to it, and I didn't have my earbuds, so I was traveling. I wasn't able to, and I haven't done so yet. The way he explains global politics is crazy to me. It kind of makes it sound like America has nothing to worry about, and that Russia and China are going to like collapse on themselves. I guess if history tells us anything, that's probably true.
Yeah, but I mean, you'll really appreciate it. Listen to it; it's super informative, and it gives you a lot of gave me a lot of perspective I didn't have on Ukraine, Russia, China, what we're doing here, just a whole bunch of just world things. Like it's one of those podcasts where I left from it like, whoa, I feel like I just learned a lot. Nice. I didn't just like listen to a funny conversation and laugh and enjoy it. I would took sustenance away. So
yeah, you're like the fourth person to tell me to listen to that. So
that's funny, man. That's awesome. And then I saw that, and then going to a funny dumb one. Shane Gillis and his buddy Matt are on Rogan this week too, which will be fucking hilarious. Their podcast is so funny.
Nice, right on.
You ever listen to that Matt and Shane Seeger podcast?
Dude, I don't. I honestly it's funny. Like I don't listen to many podcasts anymore.
Really? Man, you travel so much, though.
It goes cyclical. I don't know. It's if I'm reading a book or a movie, honestly, I like to play like really dumb games on planes. I just like to just like veg out and not do like anything fun.
Yeah, I feel you. But I do a lot of solitaire on planes.
There you go. I go in cycles of podcasts. Like every now and then, like I just like for like a month or two, I just quit and just listen to straight music. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
I feel you. What you been listening to?
A lot of Led Zeppelin, man.
Oh, such a great band.
It's like one of those bands that I find a new favorite one of their songs like every other year.
Yeah,
there's just more
Pink
music
Floyd
that I've not discovered, and I'm just like, wow.
Yep,
timeless.
I feel you. Yeah, that's Pink Floyd for me for sure.
Nice. All right, man.
Well, let's get out of here.
Let's get us out of here.
Where are they going to find our things at, Frank?
You can find our things on Twitter at Friendship NH, Instagram and TikTok at Friendship News Hour, and you can send us an email, bummerdude.media@gmail.com. That's bummerdude.media@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.